The fog hung low over the Thames, shrouding the city in a damp, suffocating grey. Ellenor Berwick walked the narrow streets of London, the hem of her dress brushing against the cobblestones still slick from the afternoon rain. She had been summoned to the house at Paternoster Row, the house she had always been told to avoid. Her grandmother's stories echoed in her mind, tales of the superstitious Londoners who whispered about the shadow it cast over the street, even under the brightest sun. It was said the house held memories, too many memories, pressed into its walls like damp ink in parchment. Ellenor told herself she didn't believe in ghosts, that such fears belonged to the past, to a different kind of London. But as she stood before the door, an ancient wood blackened with age, a chill slid down her spine. It was the mirror that caught her attention first. Leaning against the far wall of the drawing room, its tarnished silver frame drew her gaze like a magnet. The glass wasn't smooth, it rippled slightly, distorting the reflection of the room just enough to make her stomach churn. She saw herself, standing alone in the dim light. But there was something wrong. Her reflection didn't move right. It lagged, turning its head to face her before she even thought to do the same. Ellenor's breath hitched as the reflection lifted a single hand toward her, palm outstretched, almost beckoning. She turned sharply away from it, her heart pounding, only to discover her own fingers were trembling as if something unseen had gripped them. She couldn't stop herself from thinking of her grandmother's words. It only wants what you don't see. The house seemed alive the longer she stayed. Its floorboards groaned under her weight, but fell silent when she stopped moving, as though it too was holding its breath. She was no longer sure if the whispers she heard came from outside the boarded windows, or deep within the timbers themselves. It felt as though the house had been waiting for her, that every creak of the walls, every flutter of shadow was speaking directly to her. She tried escaping, heading for the front door, but the doorknob wouldn't turn, and the windows she'd passed on her way in no longer showed the street outside. There was only blackness beyond the glass. Still, the mirror called to her, its warped surface humming faintly, as though it carried an energy she couldn't understand. Ellenor felt the weight of its reflection on her back as she paced the room, the sense that her other self was watching her. It didn't feel like a decision when she stepped toward the mirror. It felt inevitable, as though the path had been set long before she entered the house. She placed a hesitant hand against the glass, expecting the cool surface to push back. But her hand sank in, a rippling sensation spreading up her arm as if she dipped it into freezing water. The reflection grinned, as her fingers met where its hand had been moments ago, and for the first time, she realized it wasn't a perfect copy of her after all. Its eyes were wrong, just slightly too wide, too dark, and its teeth glinted unnaturally. She tried to pull back, but the glass held her fast, dragging her forward with a strength that felt like her own but wasn't. Before the world went dark, she heard her grandmother's voice once more, faint and distant, almost pitying. "Some doors stay locked for a reason."